Hey guys, Dr. Tice ND here. What's up, Yogi Medicine people? So I wanted to stop by and do a video today on the coronavirus and all this this information that's coming out. This is really unique. I think this is something anytime I kind of watched this go on. It's been in the news cycle for about 2 weeks now. So anytime something lingers around that long in the cycle, you pay attention to it, and you try to start to put the facts together, put the pieces together, connect the dots. That's kind of what I do. So anytime, I think it's interesting anytime that, and this happens, it's happening more and more and more, and part of the reason I want to make a video about this and just kind of put this out there, and also to put some of the information that I know and that I'm aware of, and to try to put that into a video to give a dense download, so to kind of catch everybody up to speed, but and also to kind of connect the dots myself. Anytime medicine and media come together, those two things, there is we need to really be able to separate the truth, fact from fiction, and see what's fake news, what's for real, and so we can make the best decisions for ourselves and our family. So there's a ton of stuff that's going on here, so I'll try to kind of put it just start from the top, and I'll see how much time I see how much territory I can get covered here. So basically, the coronavirus there is a massive outbreak and a spread of this that is going on in the Hunan province of China and globally. And the thing is, so this is what we call an nCoV virus. It's part of the coronavirus family. It is kind of you could think of it as kind of a cousin of the SARS virus, which we saw a few years ago, that really strong virus. And so let's kind of piece this together and see, is this a real pandemic, something really a global health concern that we need to be pay attention to, which I think it is, or is this just hype? And I think it is. I think it's a little bit of both, and that's part of what I wanted to try to tease apart here. So some of the basic information, as far as transmission rates and infection rates and death rates, how is it transmitted? Well, the coronavirus is a zoonotic virus, which means it's in the wild. It's transmitted from animals. So that's how this virus normally moves, is through animals. But this is unique because we've had a human transmission. And one thing that is kind of unique about this one, and there's a lot of things that are interesting or characteristic about this particular, the way this virus is behaving, is it's not only going from animal to human, but it's rapidly made that that kind of jump where it's going human to human. And so that's, of course, what we're worried about. We've seen outbreaks like this. We see these things just about every year. We go through this with the flu, and then every couple of years we have something that seems to be a little bit bigger, or at least things like SARS and H1N1, these other really virulent strains. Every few years we'll see this kind of thing come through. So there are some similarities with the coronavirus and the SARS virus. About 29,000 base pairs there. So the thing that's curious about this is they have a receptor site that's similar to ACE1-2. That's kind of a docking station. One thing that's interesting about this virus is there's a sequence of 1,500 base pairs in this thing that we can't really tell where it came from. So that's why there have been some headlines. Is this made in a lab? Is this something that evolution happened in nature? That change in that happened in nature? So we got to pay attention to this. I'm gonna come back to that. So the transmission rates, infection rates, the fatality rates, the truth is nobody knows. The incubation period is anywhere from 2 to 10 days. So we've seen reports where that 6 to 8 days or 2 to 10 days is a broader window. Again, the truth is we don't really know, but for viral infection, that's what kind of incubation period we would normally expect. So that's a week plus possibly that someone could be asymptomatic, carrying, traveling around the world, transmitting, and then only, begin to exhibit symptoms 7, 8, 10 days later. So that gets tricky. How do we contain that? The best thing, and really what's known to contain that, is to have, there's offensive or defensive quarantine types. And this is kind of what we're seeing going on in China. And it really, the truth is we don't know the truth because China is a closed system and we have no idea what's going on. There have been some video reports coming out of there. We're seeing all kinds of really bizarre behavior from the Chinese, and we don't really know what's going on, again, because they're a communist closed system. They're not allowing international scientists into the country to keep that transparency there and keep that openness. So, we have no idea what's going on. Is this biological? Is this a natural transmission, or is this some kind of a bioweapon that leaked? We've seen these level 4 biohazard facilities. They're all over the world. We have them in the US, they have them in China. There is a facility in the Wuhan province where some have speculated that possibly they were working on some vaccine development or something else. Again, it's hard to tell the truth, so I'm just putting this information out there. And laying it all out there. Who knows really if that escaped naturally from the wild, or if that was released intentionally from a lab, or if it was an accidental release from a lab. That would normally have to do just with workers in the facility. They should be really high security type environments. We know that they're not exactly, so there's improper disposal. There could be improper release from that facility. Was that accidental? We don't know. Was that intentional? We don't know. Was there a vaccine in development? We don't know. There are some interesting things. I think in the recent, I forget the exact dates, sometime in the last several months, we had some kind of statistical analysis, basically a war game situation where Bill Gates was kind of wargaming a worst case scenario, and it was actually with this virus, and they estimated that there would be a kill rate of about 65 million. So, what's up with that? Is it again just coincidence that that they were wargaming with this viral scenario? We don't know. Is it coincidence that they, people like the World Health Organization, the Gates Foundation, these kinds of people that work and develop these vaccines, is it coincidence that they were already working on these? I don't know. We don't really know the truth, but when there are so many things that are just a little bit curious, and they seem to be some kind of like weird synchronicity, I think it's wise to start to ask the questions like, what's the rest of the story? So that's really kind of all I'm doing here, is laying this out and sorting this out. And what happens with these things? One, again, the similarities, the coronavirus, this 2019 NCOV virus, it is curious. There was one study that was released briefly, and then they were made to pull it down. But basically, this was really interesting. That mysterious 1,500 base pairs through genetic sequencing. There was a team in India, and I think there were some other teams that did it, but the one that I heard about was a team in India, and they found that there were some unique insertions in glycoprotein on this coronavirus that were not present in other coronaviruses. So was that through a genetic engineering process? Was that a natural evolution of the virus? We're not sure, but there are these things. But here's the part that I found interesting. The 4 unique insertions on those base pairs, they had an identity that was similar to key structural proteins in an HIV, in the HIV virus. I'm not saying that it was the HIV virus, but it was the docking protein sequences that happen to be the exact same as the HIV. So again, did that happen naturally? It's really curious. The evolution, the pathogenicity of this virus, and the implications of that. That's what we're all trying to sort out and see what's going on. But these things, again, when so many things add up, it's curious. So, there was one guy that I saw an interview somewhere, a man named Francis Boyle, and this guy actually wrote a lot of the bioweapons. He wrote a lot. You might have to fact check me on this exactly what this guy wrote, but he wrote a lot of the bioweapons, for the governments, and he wrote a lot of these, highly knowledgeable in this field, wrote a lot of these papers, and he was actually interviewed a few years ago. I think, I forget exactly which one it was. It might have been way back with the anthrax issue years ago. But he was interviewed on, and he gave all kinds of information, because this guy knows what he's talking about with these bioweapons, and he seems to think that this particular situation is engineered. It is a bioweapon, and it was released into the population. But they basically got this guy, they banned him from the news. They don't interview him. He was pretty much blackballed from all the news, the mainstream news channels. So interesting, that seems like you would want someone like that on your, giving you the information. So all kinds of questions, what's the DNA machinery? This is, this is actually a positive sense RNA virus that normally infects animals and humans. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So what other kind of interference, viral interference, RNA interference, what's going on? We don't know. That's kind of the background of this whole thing. So the other thing, some other interesting pieces of this, again, this is happening in China. What's really going on, we don't know. There seem to be 2 sets of data that are leaking out, and there were some instances where this other set of data popped up in and populated the official numbers, and they were drastically different. So again, what's going on? What are the actual infection rates and death rates? We have no clue, because it looks like the books are cooked. There's these 2 sets of numbers that are coming out. One kind of theory that seemed to kind of make sense. I'd have to see the numbers over the last day or two. This was probably 3 or 4 days ago that I saw this, but it looked like they were reporting the number dead as the number infected. Who knows? Okay, so just these different, again, just something curious to go on there. What we do know is that there seems to be some kind of a cover-up going on, something else to the story. It's a totalitarian regime, their communist regime, and pretty much they do what they want. And there's quarantines going on. There are massive efforts. The other kind of curious thing about it. The response, the sustained level of response and attention that this is getting is really curious. It's like, again, did something accidentally get out, or is this a for real outbreak? And they're really worried about it. They're really truly frightened about this, was it intentional? Different kind of scenarios. But, when they're quarantining whole entire provinces, regions with millions and millions of people. There are the towns look like ghost towns. Again, these towns of millions and millions of people. They look like ghost towns. They're fumigating. This is in China, fumigating down the streets with drones and big trucks and fumigating all these buildings. That's another, downstream issue. The antiviral agents that are in there, that can't be good. Lord knows what is in that. So the virus, if the virus doesn't get you, whatever they're spraying in there is definitely lethal to viruses and probably humans too, or it's going to give cancer, something downstream. Of course, again, we don't know, but this is a really toxic situation. They've manned up, these huge hospitals, erected these things, cremating. We don't know exactly how many people. So there are many, many different kind of really interesting responses to this coronavirus going on, and all I'm saying is it's curious. So I think we do have to be conscious of what we give attention to and too much attention to, and you got to balance that with being informed also. So it's kind of what we're trying to do here. Another kind of interesting piece here is again, when medicine and media and geopolitics all start to mix, we have this interesting, almost like a biomedia warfare type situation, an information warfare type situation going on. And this is just the world we live in. This stuff goes on all the time. But again, when it's at this level, better to pay attention, see what's going on. In Hong Kong a few weeks ago, you had people in the streets, this big movement moving toward wanting that liberation, wanting that freedom. Hong Kong is sort of the free part of China, okay? And China still has its thumb on Hong Kong, and they were sort of trying to keep those protesters down. So are the two things related? I don't know. All I know is if you look at pictures of Hong Kong in December, there were thousands of people in the streets protesting. And now if you look at pictures of Hong Kong in late January 2020, it looks like a ghost town. So what happened? Where did the people go? Everybody's on quarantine. Everybody's on lockdown. And now we have the, basically go around and there are videos of this out there, the authorities going into places, dragging people out of their homes and taking them to who knows where. These hospitals are, who knows what happens after that. Again, closed system. We don't know what's going on, just a little bit of information that's kind of leaked out. And then we have to put these pieces together. I would say there's definitely something else going on. This follows the formula, the standard issue formula of the larger establishment, which is problem, reaction, solution. Problem is here, the reaction creates the hysteria and gets that fear really going. This at a global level, and then immediately the solutions come out. So vaccines in the pipeline, quarantines and cremation and hospitals are all there. Really, really curious. Now we do have these, there are global cases that have been reported. There was case, there are several cases in the U.S., one case in Southern California. Within the last day or two, there was somebody infected that they were, accidentally released, and then they tried to like call the person back. They go around and expose who knows how many people. So just the negligence here, and this is a curious thing of putting the trust into the authorities, and that would be nice, and we should be able to do that. Put the information, trust that the authorities, the World Health Organization, the CDC, the governments, the American government, Chinese government, all these other governments, I think especially in the West, we do have this almost a naivete that's trusts the people in power. And this is, again, I wish this could be true, but we know now that we cannot trust these people in power. And so this is the slippery slope that we get into, where we start to give our power away to the government agencies, to the global health organizations, the World Health Organization, WHO, CDC, FDA, etc. And when we know these agencies time and time again have demonstrated that they are not capable of providing and informing in a true informed consent, and giving all of the facts and being transparent. They've demonstrated time and time again that they're not capable of doing that. So I'm weary of listening to those people. All of the agencies, they're basically captured agencies. They cannot be trusted. And so this is the part where it gets interesting, and kind of, again, this is that interface with media and with medicine and with health freedom, and being able to decide how we are going to provide care for ourselves and our families. I believe that each individual has the ability and the God-given consciousness and clarity to be able to inform themselves and decide how they need to provide care for themselves and for their family, as opposed to trusting or being spoon-fed the medicine from the top down, from the government agencies down to us. Again, they're captured agencies. They've demonstrated time and time again that they don't know how to do that. The case in point here is with the rabbit hole of the other pharmaceutical divisions, the vaccine division, where there's no testing. They don't have to go through the 12 to 14 year FDA approval process, this rapid development, a rapid release where they bypass all of the testing and then roll these drugs out to the vaccines. They're really drugs, and they call them vaccines so they can bypass this regulation process. And that's curious to me. So the safety, efficacy of those things has not been tested. So again, it's just curious. I believe more in kind of a bottoms up approach, where the individual should be able to decide and inform what their health care is, and then that in turn, that's how we take care of our health. That's the foundational health freedom, the medical freedom. This is really, really, really important. This is really a core issue here of freedom, of liberty, of health freedom, of knowing the truth. So this is one of the main things that's going on here that I think is curious and I think is important here. We need to also look at the immune system. So all of that said, what do? There's a virus out there, and it's a very potent virus. The evolution, the transmission, the pathogenicity of this. Again, that's kind of what we've been going through. We're not 100% sure. But there is a virus out there. There are global cases reported. So the bottom line, what we need to do is, again, we don't know the fatality rate of this. The numbers range widely. Past epidemics have been as high as 30% with the Middle East respiratory virus. The 1918, the Spanish flu, there are different reports, but everywhere between 10 and 30%. I think 18, 20% is one of the numbers that we see most. Again, with that particular epidemic, homeopathic treatment was shown to be most effective in the prevention and saving lives there. The homeopathically treated, and I have these papers somewhere, I don't have them pulled up right now, but the death rate was only like 2% with those that were treated homeopathically. So tremendous success. This kind of goes in line with what do we do. We need to boost the immune system. We need to understand that the real name of the game is the immune system, and tonifying and boosting the immunity, that the ones that are succumbing and most that are the most susceptible to are immunocompromised, young people, elderly people. There is a body of that population between 20 and 40. There are a few cases, but again, the young, the elderly, the immunocompromised are the ones that are going to be most affected and most intensely affected and the most risk of death from this infection. So we need to keep the immune system strong. We need to keep the gut healthy, the blood healthy, the glands healthy, and the bottom line is, if the immune system is vital and it is vibrant and has the proper nutrients on board, and the diet is clean, the blood is clean, the lymph is clean, the vitality is good, then the immune system can actually do its job and surveil and keep you healthy in the time of an epidemic or pandemic, or if it's just the seasonal flu, it's really the same kind of approach that we take. I think I'm going to do another video on exactly what to do and what to take, what I do personally and what we're teach our people to do, our private patients and the people that work with us. I'm going to take a separate video and do that. But the bottom line with that is, keep the immune system healthy. It's not all about the transmission of the bug or the virus or the germ. That's important, but what the number one thing that we want to do is keep the immune system strong. How do we do that? Through eating clean food, avoiding the pesticides, herbicides, environmental toxins that act like a drag on the immune system. We need to, same thing with the water, clean water, make sure our water's filtered, mineralized. The minerals are essential for the immune system to work properly. The air that we're breathing is, it should be filtered and cleaned. These are the foundational things that will reduce the risk of infection, and things that you can do in your immediate environment to, to keep yourself safe, to keep the immune system strong, and to really get this whole coronavirus thing under control. Bottom line, there is a lot of information out there and it's hard to tell the truth, but what we do know is keep the immune system strong, the gut and the blood and the thyroid. Again, I think I'm going to put a little document together, maybe a video with exactly what we're doing with our people, and I'll make that a separate little download. Perhaps I'll post that below here in this video. But that's kind of what we know at this point about the coronavirus. There's some curious things going on. I think the most important thing to do is take care of yourself, take care of your family. Keep the immune system strong, good natural foundations in the house and good hygiene. This again is what transformed America and the West, you know, and pretty much eradicated infectious disease is sanitation and hygiene. So you know, these kinds of things, we have the infrastructure here in the West where we're blessed with a good infrastructure, good hygienic system, you know, food, air, water, some of those things we need to do in our house to clean the food up, clean the water up, clean the air up. But as a whole in the West, we do have good infrastructure. So, you know, in the East, and I don't know exactly what those transmissions are, but I know some of those are still third world, and so that transmission could be higher, and it's probably going to vary from area to area. So keep the immune system strong and you'll be just fine. Don't succumb to the hype. Keep the immune system strong, and that's the message for today. We'll stay tuned over the next couple of days and a couple of weeks, and if we need to do a follow-up session here, if we get new information coming in, then we'll sit down and do another session with you guys. So I hope this was helpful. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.